That's absolutely right. I do believe Northeast pizza, Northeast style pizza, the big floppy foldy slices that you have to eat with two hands for the slices, like a taco almost. I do believe that it beats deep dish any day of the week. Give me the Philly pizza over deep dish any day of the week. I did. Oh, hello. Today. Anyhow, welcome to those in YouTube land. The week 9 of the NFL season, where of course the Eagles take on the Chicago Bears. The Bears come into town, and the Eagles finally have a home game after about a month of being on the road, where it didn't go too well in Minnesota, and then they rebounded though a week ago. Like I said, with a good effort win against the Buffalo Bills, and ended the road trip with a win and are 4-4. We're hoping that can parlay that win with another win and go to 5-4 on the season before a bye week. And they're playing a similar team to Buffalo, who has offensive issues, of course. Mitch Trubisky has not had a very good season. Okay, he's really not had a good season. And the kicking game is still an issue there in Chicago, where, of course, the Eagles beat the Bears. The last time we met, the Eagles won in Chicago on the double doink game at Soldier Field, finished off the Bears season. Of course, the Eagles will lose a week later at New Orleans in the NFC divisional round. But you know what? The fact is they gave us a run at the end of the season, and we had a shot. Even against the Saints, the ball goes through Alshon's hands, and, that's that. But is what it is. Certainly that Bears playoff win was a very memorable game for the Eagles, as that Fog Bowl was many years ago for the Bears playing in the fog. I mean, today that game would have been... I don't think they'd be playing in the fog. It is what it is. It was one of those just absolute weird, rare circumstances, and it happened. But I guess the double doink kind of, in a way makes up for that one. But there was no fog in that game. The only time the Bears beat the Eagles in Chicago in a playoff game was fog aided. Okay? So anyhow, yes, the Eagles and Bears will renew their pleasantries tomorrow in Philly, where, again, as I said before, stop me if you heard this one, we're finally home. Finally a home game. My goodness, I hope they remember where their locker room is. It's been a while. But they are home for the next 3 games. Of course, a bye week after this week, and then the Patriots and the Seahawks come in. But it's Bears week, and that's the team we gotta play, and that's the team you gotta focus on. And listen, it's like the 2 times... And I do understand, hey, not only are they back, they get D-Jax back, they get Darren Sproles back, so they get some offensive weapons back. They finally get a receiver who can, who can stretch the field a little bit because he's quick, although coming off an injury, so we'll see. But hey, just the presence of D-Jax there, I think, makes things a little more interesting for an opposing defense against the Eagles. But let's face it, the last 2 times that this offense has played really well, they had one thing in common, and that was they ran the ball. Against the Packers on the road, against Buffalo on the road, both wins. The Eagles dominated the time possession. They dominated the line of scrimmage on offense. They ran the ball, and they remembered they had Jordan Howard, a former Bear. They remembered they had him. They used him. Of course, Miles Sanders last week, over 100 yards from scrimmage, had the shoulder injury. I don't believe he's playing tomorrow, but, we'll see. Hopefully he heals, and if he doesn't play tomorrow, he'll be back against New England, because we're going to need every weapon we can get against that monster, right? But Jordan Howard, the former Bear, and don't you think that Jordan Howard wants to have a big game tomorrow against a team that basically gave him up for peanuts on the dollar this offseason? What was it, like a 6th-round draft pick or whatever the Eagles gave up in return for Jordan Howard? Listen, the guy wants to have a big game tomorrow, and he's going to be hungry. He's going to be hungry. He had a big game last week against the Bills. He wants to continue that against his former team, and I hope the Eagles do run the ball. And I understand you get D-Jax back, and I know Dougie. After a week where they ran the ball a lot, he's going to want to put the ball in the air this week for the offense. But I do hope that that this offense can continue to just, pick up where they left off last week. I understand they're going to probably throw the ball a little more this week, but against that pass rush with Chicago, hey, maybe you do want to run the ball a little more. You know, because what does that do? And look, Green Bay, not for nothing, Green Bay and the Buffalo defenses are not horrible defenses. They're pretty good, and the Eagles wore them out to the point where in the fourth quarter, those guys didn't want to tackle anybody, okay, because you wear them out. It's hard. You know, that defense is on the field for so long. By the second half of the game, late third quarter, fourth quarter, you're able to impose your will as an offense against a defense, no matter how good that defense is, because no matter how good that defense is, they're on the field for so long because you keep converting first downs, because you're running the ball on them. You're just, you know, every run, and particularly with a power back like Jordan Howard, it takes a couple guys to bring him down. You do that over and over and over again, a defense is going to get tired. You know, and they're going to be on the field for a long time, and it just happens. I mean, we see this over the years with the Eagles defense at times, right, against an opposing offense. So just keep doing what, you know, the old saying is keep it simple, stupid, the KISS theory. If it worked against Buffalo, it worked against Green Bay. I mean, I'll throw the Jets game out because, you know, it was the Jets. But and the offense, even in that game, put up 17 points. It wasn't great. You know, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And when we saw them at their best, at least without D-Jax in the lineup, it was against Green Bay and against the Bills last week. And again, they ran the ball. They basically ran the victory. Well, they have a drive towards the end of the game last week, like 8-minute drive, 8-minute plus drive. And we haven't seen that, you know, in how long. So, yeah, I mean, they were physical. This offensive line is really good as a run-blocking offensive line, and I get the Bears are very stout up front, and they have some real monsters in the midway there, you know, with that number 52. He's pretty good, even though he was neutralized in that playoff game last year, which is one of the big reasons why the Eagles were able to, you know, come away with that victory, you know, double doink withstanding. So you're going to have to find a way, you know, to neutralize his presence. They have some good players on defense, but like any defense, like I said, if you control the line of scrimmage, if you can run the ball and eat up that clock and just keep chipping away, hey, you might have some runs where you get like a yard or maybe even lose a yard or maybe get like 2 or 3 yards. You're not going to run for huge gains every time, but you keep chipping, and by the second half, particularly a road team, right? In the second half, they're on the road. It's one of the crowds against them and everything, and they're getting pounded on all game long by an offense, really a good run blocking offense like the Eagles are, and it's going to wear them out. And let's face it, the run will help open things up for the pass. And I know we have a very good quarterback. Look, there's still been a lot of talk, and it's just going to continue to go until number 11 wins in Lombardi. Okay, there's still a lot of talk out there about the Eagles. Should they have moved on from Wentz or Foles? And I'll say all day, with all due respect to number 9, and he'll always be remembered here. I mean, I'm wearing this shirt here in part because of what he did with this team at the end of that season and into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, and I'll be forever grateful for him for that. But they did the right decision by moving on from Foles and keeping Wentz, because Wentz is the future. And there are people in Eagles Nation and in the media and you know, the talking heads, and they're always going to be pro Foles and they should have moved on from Wentz and this and that. And until this guy wins in the playoffs and has success, they're always going to be that talk. I do believe Carson Wentz can be an elite quarterback in this league. I do believe he has a skill set that you see some of the greats have. For one thing, he doesn't turn the ball over very much. He has a very good touchdown-to-interception ratio. He's one of the top 6, I believe, in the league at this point of the season. I know it's only 8 weeks through, but has not turned the ball over a lot. I really don't think he's cost them a lot of games. I do believe he has been at the detriment of some of these receivers not making plays for him. I mean, let's face it, when you see some of these teams and some of these top quarterbacks in the league, their receivers are out there making plays. And I'm not using it as an excuse or a crutch, but the fact of the matter is, when you have Nelson Alligator Arms out there dropping passes in key moments, particularly against Atlanta earlier in the season, and you have other guys that just weren't able to come down with passes, and were all the passes perfectly placed? No. But as a receiver, you have to adjust. You have to do what Deshaun Jackson does, adjust to the ball in the air and make a play. Sometimes the receivers make those quarterbacks look pretty good. Okay? So receivers still have to make plays. And for all these weeks leading up, when Djax was out of the lineup, more times than not, these receivers are just not making plays. Some of those passes are there. And even if they aren't, you got to adjust. You got to do whatever you have to do to get to that ball. And I just think time after time, we've seen these receivers just not make the plays that you see other receiving corps make with these top quarterbacks in the league. And yes, those quarterbacks are top quarterbacks for a reason. They're very good. I mean, Tom Brady's the GOAT. Russell Wilson is really good. Mahomes is really good. I mean, obviously, look, the records show it. But their receivers do make plays for them. And here in Philly, when Deshaun was out of the lineup, we just didn't have that enough. It didn't have it enough. So I don't know if you can put everything on number 11 or not. I get it. The offense still looks stagnant. There were times that just, could he have done more? Sure. I do think that they could utilize his athletic skills a little more, maybe have him bootleg a little more like Seattle does with Russell Wilson. Is he as fast as Russell Wilson? No. But just that threat of Carson running, I think, keeps the defense a little more honest than we've seen. And you saw that last week. Carson made some plays with his feet, and he slid, which is good, because that's how Russell's able to do what he does all the time, because he slides. He knows how to slide. It is that baseball background that he has, too, I know. But he slides. He's like the best quarterback in the league at sliding, down. And Carson is starting to get that, and he needs to do that, because over the years he's gotten hurt trying to get a little too careless running with the ball. I think Carson does have that added weapon, and the fact that he is a mobile quarterback. He can get away from would-be tacklers. He keeps plays alive. But when your quarterback keeps plays alive, your receivers got to come and make plays. And there's been times that Carson's kept plays alive, and he throws the ball, and the receiver doesn't come down with it. And what can you do in these situations? But I would like to see them utilize his athleticism a little more. I know they're worried as a coaching staff about him getting hurt. I get that. But I think they let him go last week, and he made some plays. He converted a big third down play for running first down late in the game to continue that 8-minute drive, at the time. So I think he certainly has that skill set that you see some of these other quarterbacks have. He's not as fast as Mahomes or as Russell Wilson, but he adds that element, that escapability, that keeping the play alive, And again, if they utilize him more in bootleg situations, I think that he can have a lot more success than even he's had this season. And maybe as the season goes on, they'll feel more comfortable with him doing that, particularly if he's sliding more. Because if he does that more, hey, they'll trust him a little more running with the ball. Then we'll still be worried when he takes off, like, slide, Carson, slide. But yeah, it's an aspect of his game, I think, that is there, and I think it's something that hopefully the Eagles will show a little more, and particularly when you have Deshaun Jackson back, and he has that he's that stretch to the field receiver. I think you can utilize that escapability, that mobility of the quarterback with a explosive receiver like Deshaun Jackson. I think that just makes the offense that more explosive, much more explosive than certainly it's been. But I would love to see the Eagles run the ball this week again, continue that on. I know it's going to be tough for Dougie because he wants to have that passing offense. I know. But they've had a lot of success running the ball when they committed to it. And I'm not saying every single week, we just have to run the ball 2 downs and then throw on 3rd down. No. But if you have that, if you show a defense that you can run, it opens everything up on an offense. It opens up the passing game. Here come your RPOs. All right, the RPOs aren't really effective when you're not running because the R in RPO is the run. So a defense isn't going to fall for a play action fake if you're not going to run the ball, okay? But I would love to see them run the ball and keep establishing the run. I think this offensive line loves run blocking. It's one of the best run blocking offensive lines in the league. And they do it very well. I mean, you see some of these holes that this offensive line opens up against good defenses and running backs, whether it was Howard or Sanders or whoever's back there taking full advantage of it. And again, to the tune of 2 of their biggest wins this season against Green Bay and Buffalo, I mean, they were running the ball, and maybe they felt they had to because the receivers were just not, getting open with regularity. And I do think getting Djax back is going to help that. It's certainly going to help open up the offense, as we saw. The last time this offense looked explosive, I mean really explosive, was week 1 against the Redskins. And no surprise, Djax was on the field, right, to the tune of 2 big touchdowns. But also his presence opened it up for other receivers. So I think that can continue. I am a little disappointed in Howie, and I wouldn't have given up a second-round pick for Temple Tough, Robbie Anderson. But Emmanuel Sanders was a guy that I really thought could help this team. Much better slot receiver than Nelly. A more sure-handed receiver and you know, a veteran. And I do think that would have been a nice move for the Eagles to have pulled off. And I get he goes to the Niners, and, you know, I mean, already he's made some, you know, plays for that offense. It's disappointing in a way. I get the fact that why in a way he wouldn't give up, you know, draft picks, particularly higher draft picks for players who may be a rental, like it was a year ago when he brought Golden Tate in from the Lions. But at the same time, I mean, this team needed, you know, an upgrade at the slot receiver, even though they knew they were going to get Deshaun back. And let's face it, it's not like Deshaun doesn't miss games. He already has. But it would have been a nice insurance piece to have, and also just a better slot receiver than Aguilar, even with the return of Deshaun Jackson. I would have loved to have seen how he made that move. And I know there were other players out there that we were lamenting they didn't get, and you can't get everybody. But, you know, of all the moves that they didn't make, and, you know, the Ramsey move, I would have made it. I'm sorry. I would have given up the 2 ones. For him, I would have done it. Now, you would have had to pay the man this offseason. But, you know, maybe Bryce Harper could have lent them some money for it. I don't know. But I get it, but the Emmanuel Sanders move, I think that was a move to make. And yes, maybe they were a little gun shy because they brought in Golden Tate and they didn't know how to use him, and it just, you know, he really wasn't much of a factor. I know he had the go-ahead touchdown against the Bears in the playoffs, speaking of the Bears, but for most of his time here, he really wasn't very effective, and they just didn't know how to use him. So maybe there was some of that in the back of Howie's mind, that if we bring in Emmanuel Sanders, are they going to know how to use him? I don't know. Kind of in a way, a bit of a similar receiver to Golden Tate. I mean, Golden Tate and Emmanuel Sanders, you know, 2 guys that have similar skill sets, and maybe that's why Howie just decided not to. I mean, they didn't even bring in Josh Gordon. You know, and he would have cost him nothing. You know, he was released by the Patriots, and I get he has baggage and, you know, whatever. Apparently his work ethic isn't that great. If you can't hang with the Patriots, you know, and this is 2 receivers now. You know, they bring in Antonio Brown, that doesn't work out. Josh Gordon gets released. Yeah, I you know, I don't know. Maybe there's just something with New England. I have no idea. Brady's just barks at them too much. I don't know, but they I don't know. I get it. You know, he goes to the Seahawks. I mean, another speed receiver goes to the Seahawks. Wonderful. What can you do? But no, Emmanuel Sanders to me would have been a perfect fit on this team. Upgrade over Nelson Alligator Arms, as I call him, and again another weapon. And you know, again, you had to know how to utilize him, but another weapon for this offense, and maybe a safety valve, a security blanket for if Deshaun Jackson gets hurt again. And let's face it, Deshaun Jackson over the past 3 years, he hasn't been Mr. Healthy, okay, and he is playing hurt now. And I hope he goes through the rest of the season when he doesn't miss another game, because I do believe this offense with him on the field is a better, more explosive offense than with him off the field. We saw this offense with the receiving core with Djax off the field over the past, you know, really 7 weeks out of the eight weeks they've been played so far. Not a lot of chunk plays. I know last week we had some with Miles Sanders. Besides that, really not a lot of chunk plays. We've seen chunk plays against us over and over and over and over again. But this offense really wasn't able to do that because they didn't have Deshaun Jackson. And they didn't really do anything to replace him. So, good to have him back. Great to have number 10 back on the field. We're in the black uniforms tomorrow, which is cool, the alt blacks. But, again, let's let's hope, even though they will have the ability to have some of those explosive plays, let's hope they continue to run the ball. Because you know what? Running the ball, what that's going to do, that will open it up for some explosive plays. Because defenses have to put 8 in the box, got to be a little worried. And, there's Deshaun Jackson. Now, he's hurt. He's coming off the injury. But Deshaun Jackson one-on-one with a corner, I like my chances with D-Jax. Just put it up, okay? It's a winnable game. I know the Bears are the desperate team coming in, losing some games and not really having the season that they were hoping for. Mitchell Trubisky has been awful, and that's putting it mildly. You're playing in a similar situation that you were a week ago, where you're playing an offense with a quarterback who alone isn't going to beat you. You got to get pressure on the quarterback, though, and you have to stop the run. The Bears' strength of their offense is the run with Cunningham and Cohen and what have you. That is their strength. In this defense, their strength is stopping the run. The Bears' strength is running. So who's going to win that battle? I'm hoping the Eagles will, okay? Because I don't want to see the Bears running, because if the Bears have success running the ball, that's going to help their offense, because Mitchell Trubisky alone isn't going to beat you. Just like last week, Josh Allen alone wasn't going to beat you. And guess what? Josh Allen alone didn't beat them. The Eagles stopped the run for Buffalo. Josh Allen, he made some plays, he made some throws, but at the same time, it just really wasn't in jeopardy of Josh Allen alone beating the Eagles, Same deal tomorrow. It's almost like you're playing a mirror image of the Bills, okay, in the Bears. I know the Bears, the Bills might not have a Khalil Mack on their defense, but they're still pretty stout, and we saw the Eagles have success, particularly in the second half, against them. But what else did the Eagles do? They caused a big turnover right before halftime. If you can get some turnovers and win the turnover battle, which most weeks they are, because Wentz isn't a turnover machine, if you can win the turnover battle, you're going to have success. Again, you don't want to put a struggling offense in good situations. So you can't turn the ball over a lot and give them short fields. And I know they have a kicker with some issues, and I guess that just is. There's two things consistent in Chicago, okay? There's deep dish pizza. You're going to have Blues Brothers references, and you're going to have a kicker on the Bears who just isn't very effective. It's basically what you're going to have, okay? Since moving on from Penn State to Robbie Gould years ago, okay? So their kicking game isn't the greatest, but you still don't want to put that offense, as poor as they've played, in situations where it's shorter fields, where they don't have to do as much to beat you. Okay, they can still score. Don't give them short fields. Let them have those long fields. Let a struggling offense have long fields to go with instead of giving them a short field. But basically, as you saw, the turning point for the game last week, as struggle as the Eagles' offense was doing early in the game, what happened? Their defense got a big turnover, a shorter field to go with, offense took over, and here comes a touchdown, and then a 2-point conversion. And just like that, the game changed. It changed on a dime. Right after that, second half happens, big play by Miles Sanders, and then the Eagles' offense the rest of the second half running the ball. Running the ball. Old school, just winning at the point of attack, winning up front, and they got to win. And after a few weeks, they got to win. And yes, they were the more desperate team in that game. And the Bears in this game, I would say, would be the more desperate team. But at the same time, the Eagles can't feed into that. Cannot feed into that. Secure the ball. Secure the game. That's basically it. Mitchell Trubisky alone is not going to beat you. And I don't have any fears of saying that out loud, that's going to come back to bite me, because Mitchell Trubisky this season alone hasn't beaten anybody. Okay? So, again, the matchups favor the Eagles over the Bears. The matchups favor the Eagles over the Bears, but it's up to the coaching staff, it's up to the players. They got to commit. They got to do what they did a week ago to get a win against Buffalo, and now you're playing a similar team to Buffalo in Chicago. Again, maybe the records aren't the same, but you got to do what you got to do. Win those matchups that are winnable for this team against the Chicago Bears, and you'll come away with a win. And we'll have 2 straight wins going into a bye week. We're still right there with Dallas. And a huge monster of a game coming up later in December when we play them here. But I know we have some big games before that. Obviously, the Patriots, maybe you heard of them. They'll be coming into town in some weeks. And then Seattle after that. 2 huge ones there, and of course a big one tomorrow, because every game is big. I don't care who you're playing. At this point of the season, you're at the midway point basically. Just about every game's big, particularly if you're going to be in a divisional race the rest of the season with Dallas. And every game is big. And yes, the last portion of the Eagles season might be more favorable than it would be for Dallas, but again, these games matter. This game against the Bears matter. And as tough as they're going to be, when you play the Patriots, you play the Seahawks, at least it's home. And you're going to have the home fans there for you. And there might be some reminders there for the Patriots about the Super Bowl 50. Perhaps you heard. New England, perhaps. There might be a few reminders about that game. But no, there are some big games, but at least they're home. And when you play Dallas again later in the season, it's here. Make it count. Make this home field was so big for the Eagles back in 2017 when they won the Super Bowl. They got the home field. Now, they won't have the home field advantage in the playoffs this year, but if you win the division, you get a home game. Okay? You have an opportunity here, 3 straight home games. Utilize it. The fans are going to be there. This team plays, for the most part, really well at home. Keep it going in recent years, right? Keep it going. Establish that home field advantage, particularly these next 3 weeks, and then when you got that team from Texas coming in, that's not the Texans, later in the season, it's here. It's a huge one. It might mean the division. We'll worry about that game when we get to it, but bottom line is you're back at home. You have the home field advantage. Use it. Utilize it. For the most part, this team has done well at home in recent years, and here's hoping they continue it because they have a lot of home games the rest of the season. Because first part of the season, they had a lot of road games. Now, second part of the season, they're going to have a lot of home games, so utilize it. All right, so that's the breakdown. Eagles-Bears tomorrow, 1 o'clock on Fox, and hoping to get 2 straight wins and going into the bye week on the right note. On a winning note, and that's always great. Hey, it's always better when they win than the other way around. So, anyhow, there you go, and let's get right into it here. No graphic or anything, but we're going to get right into the Festive Four, because I don't know, maybe, if you didn't hear or not, but a certain someone who's sitting to my right over here was 4-0 last week for the first time in the history of the Festive Four. That's right, Festive. You let them know who was 4-0 last week. That's right. You let them know. Yeah. Festive was 4-0 last week. The Eagles had a big win against Buffalo, and Festive had a winning week too. 4-0 for the first time, getting the record for Festive to 19-9 on the season. Oh, there's some bettors in Vegas that are 19-9 right now. Look at Festive. They can take notes from Festive. That's right. So anyhow, here is this week's Festive Four for Week 9. Again, the 4-pack of teams that Festive believes just strictly going to win. The point spreads and this and that, and who cares about that stuff? It's just strictly winners. So here it is, this week's Festive Four. First of all, Festive likes the team that the Eagles beat last week because they're not playing the Eagles this week. Festive likes Buffalo to get a win this week against Washington. Secondly, Festive likes Oakland. Shout out to Throwback King. Shout out to Pistol. The Rays to beat the Detroit Lions this week as the second pick. The third pick, Festive picks this because Festive still wants this team to be unbeaten when they roll into Philadelphia, because Festive and I want to be that team to give this team their first L of the season. So Festive wants the Patriots to beat Baltimore this week and to stay undefeated, because, again, we both want the Patriots still to be undefeated when they come in, because like it was in Super Bowl 52, we want to put an L in the column for them. So there's that one. And also another team coming into town in some weeks, Festive likes Seattle over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a dangerous pick, Festive. Tampa Bay got me in the last couple weeks in the Glenn Macnow suicide pool. Buccaneers. They should just wear the creamsicles more often. That's all I'm going to say. But anyhow, to recap, Festive likes Buffalo over Washington, Oakland over Detroit, New England to remain undefeated over Baltimore. Should be a good one. Should be a good game there. And then Seattle against Tampa Bay. That's this week's Festive Four. That's it. There is no more. Festive was 4-0 last week. And Festive is hoping to continue on the winning ways, as we're hoping that the Eagles continue on the winning ways. And speaking of Festive, I saw this today. It's a little festive mug. Festive. I didn't know. Festive's modeling for mugs now. Festive's like MasterCard. Festive's everywhere you want to be. So then there it is. The festive mug there for for the festive four. And that's it. There is no more for this vid. It's been a half hour of fun as always. I will see you all in the next one. Hopefully we will be talking about a Eagles victory again as we were a week ago. Eagles coaching staff, just remember, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes that's all you have to do. Run the ball, win that battle up front. You're playing against a good defense, I get that, but you can tire out that defense. Any defense can get tired if you leave them on the field long enough. Eagles offense, control the turnovers. Do not turn the ball over and give Mitchell Trubisky and that struggling offense short fields to go with. Okay, short fields, you want to keep them going long distances, where the warts will continue to show for the Bears. You know, Trubisky, he's a giver. He'll give the ball up from time to time. Let him do that. When you have an opportunity to get an interception, don't Nelson Alligator arm the ball. Get the ball. Shut down the Bears' run, because if you shut down their running game, you beat them. Because again, number 10, he's not beating you alone. Okay, and Eagle fans, I know as always, you guys are going to be there in full throat. I know E-Rock and the members of course, Fourth and John, which Festive's a big fan of too, are going to be there in full throat, and all your crew there. Have a great time. Bring it. Bring it, Eagles Nation. I know you've been waiting for a home game for quite some time. So bring it as you always do. I myself, as I said before, will be going with my buddies Mark M. and the captain, Jason, of course, the captain of the 30-30. We will be going to our buddy Tony's place in Philly to watch the game and have a good time. And shout out to Tony for hosting it this week. And hopefully we all get a victory to be happy for, to drive back home to discuss. All right, we'll have video from Tony's tomorrow, and of course I'll post a vid to go with that for the the post-game reaction. This is the pregame, then we have the post-game reaction to what we hope would be an Eagles win against the Bears. And yes, so go Birds as always. Let's keep this winning thing going. In the black uniforms tomorrow, the alternate blacks will be worn tomorrow. I got my Carson Wentz jersey ready to go, so hopefully they've done pretty good in those black uniforms in recent years. So hopefully that continues, and we'll have a victory again to talk about 24 hours from now. All right, everyone, take care. Go Birds. I'll see you in the next one. For Festive and I, see you in the next one.